Hello and welcome to another Blender tutorial. We're going to use a reference image to start building a design today. So I'm going to show you a couple of tools that will be useful in making that happen. First, I'm going to click out here, click A on the keyboard and delete to get rid of the things on my scene. I can use the directional star up here to find my Z location so that I'm looking straight down on my object. You can also hit the tilde key, which is the key to the left of the 1 on the keyboard, and hold that to bring this up to change your point of view. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is add a reference image. So if you come up here to the add and you go to image and then select reference, and then find the location where your reference image is located. We're going to use this as a simple heart to make what we're going to make today. Alright, so now I've got my reference image. I need to start to build that. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can come up here and you can add a some kind of mesh in order to work and make that. I typically start with a plane and then work out from that, but you can do circle. If you want it to be three-dimensional, you can use a cylinder, but that causes other things that you have to work with later. So let's go ahead and just start with a circle. Alright, and as you can see, our circle has no faces in it, it's just edges. So if I hit tab into edit mode and I hit A to make sure that all things are selected, and I hit F on the keyboard, you'll see that that's now filled with a face. The next thing that you're going to want to do is Blender allows for making things symmetrical automatically. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete the left half of this. We're going to click out here, hold the left mouse button, and scroll across until you've got these half over here. Do not select the center vertices, just the ones on the left hand side here. We go delete on the keyboard and then vertices, and that got rid of those. Selected the lines, and I'm going to add the faces to that again. So now my faces are back. Next thing we're going to want to do is set this up so that it will be reflected across the y-axis here. So if we go over here to the modifier properties, it's the blue wrench, click on that, go to add modifier, and we're going to bring it down here to where it says mirror. Then going to select our, right now it's on the x-axis. The x-axis means that it's going to be symmetrical across the, like if this is your y-axis here, this is your x-axis, so that's where you'll have your symmetry at. Alright, and we're just going to leave that there. We're not going to do anything with that yet. Alright. So once you have this set up so that it's reflecting across that axis, Now what we're going to do is we're going to start to move those vertices around. So we're going to come up here. Here are your 3 different ways of selecting this. You can also hit 1, 2, or 3 on the keyboard, and that'll change it from vertex mode, line mode, or base mode for editing. So right now we want to go with the vertex mode. And we're going to go over here to our move tool. And then it's fairly simple. You're just going to drag your vertices out. I like to do it in a way that makes sense. So I'm going to drag every other one out to kind of, I want an even distribution of these vertices on the outside edge so that my edge will be nice and smooth. So I'm going to kind of, I drag out every other one at a time just to help me get the spacing how I want it to be. Makes it easier to kind of plan for making that outside edge look correct. Now you'll notice up here, a couple of those places aren't as maybe smooth as I would like them. Down here this looks pretty good, but once you get to about here, those flat areas are a little bit more flat than I'd like them to be. So in order to kind of smooth those out, I'm going to hit select this vertex here. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to go around to over here because I think an additional vertex added between each of those would help me round that out and make it look more smooth. So now that I've got those selected, I'm going to go up here to where it says vertices, and should be a way I can subdivide that. There we go. I guess it was under edges. So we subdivided those edges. I guess that makes sense. You can't subdivide a point, but anyway, so I subdivided those edges. Now that gives me more vertices so that I can take and adjust each one of those and move them out so that that edge looks a little bit more appealing. Alright, so I've traced my heart. I'm going to hit Tab to exit out of edit mode and go back into object mode. Now that I've used my reference, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Alright, currently on our mesh what we've got is we've got our heart here, and it's reflected with this modifier here. We're going to start doing some other things to that so that we can work with it. Right now, if I take this and I want to like change it or do anything with it, you can see it's really broken up. So that's not going to work very well for us. So we're going to go back into our top-down view, and then we're going to look at where our vertices line up vertically. And we're going to use the knife tool. We're going to connect some of those. And the reason for this is that we're going to want to be able to, change the shape of this. So I've just added in some cuts here so that we have that going across. Now, that's one way of doing it. We also want to add some lines in this direction. So this is the loop cut tool I've got selected over here. If I come in here and I click once, it'll bring up this option box down here in the lower left side. And then at the top it says number of cuts. So I can just increase that to a good amount, and that will kind of fill that area with some different cuts, and it kind of contours it so that it's similar with the outside edge. All right. Now that's one way of doing it. There's, like I said previously, there's always more than one way of doing things. So we're going to show you a different way. Hold B. I'm going to select all these edges in here. Hold B and hold down the left mouse button and drag. It will select anything that I go over the center of. And you can see as I get all of the we'll just do it this way. I'll hold down Alt, and I'm going to click down I'll hold down Alt and then Shift. I'm going to get rid of the selection of just the outside edge, because I want to keep that. Then I'm going to hit the Delete key and hit Edges. Now I've got my empty heart. Oh, I missed one here. Deleted an edge and you need to put it back. Go into vertice mode. I'm going to hit E to extract, and I can move that across. And then I can select the second vertex. Then I'll hit M to merge, and then at last. And that'll close that off. All right, so now I've got an outline, and this interior has some lines down it. I'm going to hit A to select all there. Then up here on the Faces menu, up at the top, I'm going to hit Face, and I'm going to go Grid Fill. And it didn't work. Okay, I'm not sure why that didn't work. All right, well, typically speaking, you just hit Face and then Grid Fill. I'm not sure why that didn't work, so we can do it a different way. As much as possible, I want to kind of keep these nice and square. So I'm going to select over here and then come across and select one that's parallel to it over here on the right. And then once I've got, so Shift and left click to select both of those, and then I'm going to hit F on the keyboard, and now you see I've got that face there. If I just click the bottom line down here and I continue to hit face, it'll start to fill those down, and anywhere where I've got a parallel vertices, it'll snap across to that. So as I'm going down here, I'm going to see that I'm going to need probably 1, 2, 3, 4 more vertices in here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dissolve this out. This vertice here out. So right click and then dissolve vertices. Get my move tool here. I'm going to move some of these vertices up so that it's a little bit more even horizontally. All right, so I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices down this edge. You can see I just went and got my loop cut tool. Now if I use a loop cut tool on a line, I can actually make those 4 vertices happen and spread them out evenly. So I'll click that, and then I'll come over here, my menu, down here in the lower left, and now I've got my 4 vertices there. Go back to edge mode by clicking up there, hitting the number 2 on the keyboard, and then select that bottom line again, and then use the F key to fill in those faces. I can then go back up to the top and do the same thing. Repeating some of the same steps here, so alright. I want to see here, I'm going to start wanting to put vertical edges in here. Alright, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices up here. And I think that looks pretty good. About matches up. So in order to do this part, I'm going to select this edge, and then I'm going to hold down the control key so that it'll do a continuous selection, and then I'm just going to fill that with a face. I'm going to go back to the vertice mode using 1 on the keyboard, and now I'm going to use a tool called the knife tool. So here I can bring in the knife tool, take this, I'm clicking on the vertice, dragging up, clicking on the vertice. You can see that when you get, like, if you're not on the vertice, it's going to give you a green little mark there, and when you get on the vertice, it'll highlight it with a kind of a red outline. And then each time I make my cut, I'm going to hit the enter key. Alright, so now I've got my heart filled with a grid. If I want my grid to be a little bit more even, what I can do is select the interior parts of it. don't want to modify the outside, so any of my faces that were touching the outside edge, I got rid of in the selection. Now if I use this smooth tool and select those, kind of smooth that out for these edges in here. For some reason, this edge is not merging. Not merge. There we go. Now it's done what it's supposed to do. All right, so I turned on clipping. Clipping means that if I drag this over and try to drag it across itself, it's going to stop that movement. Merge means that once I get to that center, it's going to snap this to the other side so that it doesn't, so it becomes one piece. All right. So now if I'm going to manipulate this heart at all, I've got some vertices in there so that I can move it around. All right, we're going to add another modifier to this. We're going to add a lattice modifier. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, and then I'm going to hit Tab to exit out of edit mode. I'm going to come up here to add, go down to lattice, and you'll see this little box pop up here. You want that box to be bigger than the outside edge of your heart. So I'm going to hit S for scale. I'm going to drag my mouse across. You can see in Blender it has a nice, because sometimes you have to go all the way across. So if you get to the edge of the screen, it'll go automatically pop your mouse back over the other side. I'm going to modify this so that it's just bigger than the outside edge of the heart. Like that. Go ahead and click on the Y here. You can't see my heart is just a line that's straight across there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit S and then Z so that I'm scaling on the Z axis and drag that in. That's probably good. Now I've got a heart in a box. All right. I'm going to try to, I don't know how this is going to work out. Hit A to select all. I don't know if it's going to, I think it'll retain the grid on here if I extrude this. So I want some thickness on this. And there are two ways of doing that. I can go ahead and I can hit A and extrude it like that. Or I can do it automatically if I go over here to my properties modifiers here. And I come up here to the menu and I drop that down. I can hit solidify. All right. So here I've got some thickness to it. If I want that to be more, I can drag that up. All right. Now, there are a couple different, when you're working with these tools, there's a couple different things that this does. Now, this will automatically kind of just be that thick all the way around. The benefit of that is that I don't have to, constantly adjust it. If I make a change to the top, it's just going to change the bottom. But the drawback of that is that if I need the bottom edge to be different, then I can't change it until after I've applied this. And then when I do apply it, let's go ahead and do that so we can, got to tab out of edit mode before you can apply it. So then I hit apply. Okay, it does retain those, that grid on the back, so we're going to undo that for now. All right, so now that I've got that done, yeah, so I want my solidify in there. now I'm going to actually select my lattice because I made it and I didn't do anything with it. So come in here, there's my lattice. If I click here, you can see lattice is listed there. Sometimes you'll have more than one lattice and you need to make sure you select the right one. But for us, we just have one. All right, now I go back out of edit mode on this so that I'm in object mode. I select the lattice itself and I come down here to the object data properties, which you can see is like a little grid here. So I'm not sure why this is. All right, so here we've got our different things here. So what this is doing is it's segmenting the lattice so I have more points of manipulation. All right, so for what we're going to do, we're just going to want these top two to be 3 and the bottom two to be I'm sorry, the top two to be 3 and the bottom one to be 2. All right, now I've got my lattice selected. I'm going to hit tab to go into edit mode. Use the move tool. Select that, and then you can see as I bring that up, now it gives my heart kind of some shape to it. So you might want to reset that, and then I'm going to add some more lattice points in here. What I really don't want is I don't want it to pull the outside edge up too much as I pull this up in the center. I want it to remain fairly flat on the outside edges. All right. That's not bad. I'm going to select both these across here because I want to do it. I want to make this and keep it symmetrical. The mirror option should do that. But I just want to, do it manually to be sure. All right, I think that looks good. All right, so that's how I would trace a shape and make it, and another way of using a deform tool to modify that. Hope that was helpful. Next tutorial, we will try to make the bands for our rings so you can see how to do that. Good luck and have fun.